Well, good morning to you. Welcome to Newsviews once again. I'm Alan Kraszewski. The former head of the anti-violence group Ceasefire now wants to head up the state of Illinois. T.O. Hardiman is challenging Governor Pat Quinn in the Democratic primary that's coming up. During his career, Hardiman's worked as a community organizer, also director of Ceasefire Illinois. He created the Violence Interrupters Initiative. His running mate in this race, attorney Burnell Donald, she has worked as an assistant state's attorney, also with the Cook County Public Defender's Office, and is now in private practice. T.O. Hardiman and Burnell Donald are my guests this morning on Newsviews. It's great to have both of you here today.
Thank you so much for having us, sir.
You bet. I'm going to come right out here because there are some, as you both know, there are some that would argue that this is a long shot candidacy for both of you. They look at, you got Pat Quinn, of course, an incumbent Democratic governor who, despite whatever anyone might say about his popularity, even among members of his own party, he still enjoys their support and also has millions of dollars in a campaign war chest right now. Why are you doing this?
Well, the thing is, this is what you call machine politics. Even in a classroom setting, you'll never have a teacher that's going to place the classroom, a person that's failing all their grades, in front of the class as a role model. The Democratic machine does that time and time again. Pat Quinn has failed the state with a lot of failed policies, and I plan to talk about solutions as well, but we're not a long shot. I want to make that clear. We're running to win. We've traveled the entire state about 4 times over, and we plan to pick up all the voters that voted for Dan Hines in the 2010 primary.
Well, let me say, if you're giving the incumbent governor an F, okay, tell me what are these grades and what subjects and what you're going to change here.
Well, what's going on, first and foremost, Governor Quinn and the General Assembly just proposed a 30-year solution to the pension crisis. Most of the elected officials will not be around 30 years to be held accountable for another failed policy. What I plan to change in the pension plan they just proposed, I plan to take a look at not touching the people's cost of living adjustment. That's a big major issue in regards to the pension plan. Secondly, I plan to reduce the state deficit, by building 3 to 5 new state-owned casinos and have all that money to go into reducing the deficit and increase funding for education here in the state of Illinois.
Let me break that down a little bit here, because when you talk about not restricting the cost of living adjustments, obviously it takes money to do that. Now, I hear you talking about casinos too, which obviously you're thinking that would bring money in. But these would be state-owned casinos? Is that right?
State-owned casinos, because why allow individual investors or groups of investors to make a lot of money and the state is broke? Why should we allow that? The state needs the money. And that's what's going on in Springfield now. Too many backroom deals going on.
This pension deal was a compromise, obviously, and not everyone's happy with it. I know you have gone as far as to say you think that it sold out the unions, correct?
It did, and this is another thing. I wanted to say that we are running because we're Americans. We are residents of Illinois, and we have the right to run.
Absolutely.
It does not say you have to have XXX billion dollars behind your name to run. We are citizens. We see that our state is sick. There are people out there hurting. They're suffering. They are choosing between gas and food. And we decided, as citizens of this great state, as Americans, democracy requires us to care about one another. It can't be you see your neighbor suffering and you keep turning the other way, because sooner or later it's going to be your doorstep. With respect to the unions, I have been listening to the news, and I'm very hurt for those unions that feel that they have to donate money to someone who slapped them in the face, kicked them in the teeth, and kicked them while they were down. It hurts me to think that we as a people feel we have to continue to cater to big money and to backroom deals. Enough is enough.
But the reality seems to be nowadays that you need money to make it work, to get your message across. I mean, your message is getting across now as we're talking here to some degree. What else can you do?
Well, let me tell you, this race is all about the have and the have-nots.
That's right.
What we plan to do, I have the list of all the voters in Illinois. We plan to send emails to all the voters. We plan to target 4 or 5 different counties, St. Clair County downstate, Macon County around Decatur area, Champaign County. We've been all through Peoria and all of Cook County. We plan to go out here and shake hands with over 3 or 4 million people and take our message directly to the people. That's part of our strategy. And so far, so good.
And we've been doing that since August. People don't have to understand. We didn't just get up and say, oh, we're going to just win this. We've been shaking hands since August. And the people are crying out. White people, black people, people have to realize this is not about race. What we're fighting here is about classism. It's classism. And we've got what's happening is there's this great gap between the wealthy and the poor. That middle class is closing fast. So we, as the poor and working class of this state, have to stand up and take our state back.
So what are you going to do? I know you've made an issue, even when it comes to unemployment rates, and obviously, in particular, you've made a point of this among young black teens, for instance, that it's especially high. What do you do? What do you do to change that?
First of all, you eliminate the head tax on corporations and provide corporations with incentives to hire more people by eliminating the head tax. That way, we can kind of bring that number down. One of my main goals of the campaign is to make sure that we put a big dent in that particular number. We're talking about 92% of African-American youth between ages of 16 and 19 are unemployed statewide. And what that means is somebody sold these young people out, Alan. I'm serious.
You want to raise the minimum wage? There are some, and that's a Democratic Party issue too, but as you know, there are some who would say that it costs jobs somewhere along the line. Do you disagree?
No, that's the reason why I say we eliminate the head tax, then you raise the minimum wage. You don't go around talking about raising the minimum wage without having a solution for the corporations. We have to think about the businesses. Under Pat Quinn's administration, a lot of corporations have left Illinois. So we don't want to lose any more jobs.
I'll ask you more about that too. I want to get to that issue as well. We'll be right back with more from Tio Hardiman and Burnell Donald in just a moment.
This is Bob's new